If you hate line jumpers, then this episode is for you. All right, so I wanted to share a story with you all about some line jumpers that we witnessed in the parks around New Year's Eve last year. And I'm not talking about the people that are just coming up in the back and saying, "Oh, I just need to get to my family up ahead." Not what I'm talking about in this episode. What I'm going to talk about is like strategic, organized crime line jumping. So just to set the scene, it was New Year's Eve, very busy, as you probably know, Magic Kingdom, busiest time of the year, and my family and I have a lightning lane for Peter Pan's flight. And as we're walking towards Peter Pan's flight by the carousel, we get close to the lightning lane checkpoints, and I see three kids. I want to say they were ages anywhere between ages 8 and 14. I could be wrong, but that's what I would guess. And I see them crawl underneath the chain link fence and run through the lightning lane checkpoint. And the cast member standing at the checkpoint did not see them because they were preoccupied with a guest answering their questions. So they sprint in and get in line right before us. And so we scan in and then we get behind them in the lightning lane. And as you all probably know, there's a second checkpoint in Peter Pan's flight that you have to scan into. So once we get behind these three kids, I'm like, okay, they're going to get caught at the next checkpoint. No big deal. I'm not going to say anything right this minute. But then they get to the second checkpoint, and the cast member asks the three kids to scan in. And at first, they were looking at each other, like seeing who was going to take charge and say something. And then they finally made the excuse of, "Oh, our mom left the card that scans in at the checkpoints. She left them out and she went somewhere else, and we don't have it." So, what is the cast member going to do? You know, just make them go back, which I think they should do. But in this instance, the cast member lets them go through because they're kids. And she don't know if this story is true or not. But I clearly know it's wrong. And they're just flat out lying. So the cast member lets them in, and then we get up to scan. And I'm like, at this point, I'm really, really ticked off because we paid a lot of money for these lightning lanes. I mean, it's New Year's Eve. It's the busiest time of the year. And so I get up there and scan in and said, "Hey, those kids didn't scan in at the front. They just walked right in." And the cast member was like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, sir." And I tried to tell her what really happened, and she was just kind of didn't really care to hear what really happened because she already let him through. And this really kind of ticked me off even more because, you got people paying a lot of money for these lightning lanes. If you know that you can just lie to the cast member at the second checkpoint, why even buy them, right? So people will say, "Oh, they're just kids," but these kids were old enough to know that that was wrong. I mean, they were middle school aged, and they knew what they were doing. And so that left me wondering at the end after the ride, like, is the adult at the first checkpoint talking to the cast member? Are they in on this to get the cast member's attention so the kids can run in there real quick and ride the rides? That was a thought I had, and I'm pretty sure that happens a lot. I would bet money that it happens more than you think that this kind of stuff goes on, where they just go right through the first checkpoint and then say to the cast member, "Oh, our parents have the card to let us in," because the parent didn't want to ride the ride or something like that. But man, I was so ticked off after getting off Peter Pan's flight. Ooh, I don't hardly ever get mad at in Disney World, but this was the one time I was ticked off. And as we got off the ride, I gave a big hard glare at the oldest kid, which I would guess was 13 or 14. I stared right at them, and they saw me make eye contact with them, and they knew. They knew I caught them, and they knew what they were doing was wrong. So that gave me a little self-assurance, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm just wondering if you guys have ever seen anything like that, where it's more like organized like that. I'm sure it happens, but I'm curious what you all have heard or seen. So let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.